Trustee Bartolome.
Second.
Thank you, Trustee Natale. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Natale.
Yes.
Trustee Bartolome.
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item is a request from the village justice, Anthony Curry, for a, Brian Davis is the village prosecutor. He acts in the Bayville Village Justice Court, and his fee would be increased to $300 per session from $195 per session. So that's court night, that's however long he's here, from 5 o'clock till whenever. He's been at the amount of $195 since 2015, and there's been no adjustments to his hourly, his set rate since then.
Maria, would you be good enough to just give me those numbers once again?
All right, so Brian Davis has been with us at least since 2015. He was at $195 per fortnight, which again could run from anywhere from 5 o'clock till 9 o'clock, 10 or whatever the period is. And the recommendation in discussion with Anthony Perry, the village justice, is that that nightly fee should be adjusted to $300. 300 for the court session that evening. This is in line with other prosecuting attorneys in other village courts.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Make a motion?
Thank you, Trustee Valsecchi. Thank you, Trustee Santoro. Trustee Walsh.
Yes.
Trustee Santoro.
Yes.
Trustee Nigro.
Yes.
Trustee Natale.
Yes.
Trustee Bartolome.
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi.
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
The next item on the agenda will be a resolution that I'm going to read. And it's a resolution to hold a public hearing on proposed local law C-2022. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Bayville has entered into a project for the codification of local laws, ordinances, and certain resolutions of the Village of Bayville for the purposes of increasing the effectiveness of village governmental administration, providing for greater public awareness of and access to village legislation, and protecting the health, safety, and welfare of village inhabitants. And whereas the proposed codification has been published in loosely form, and the Board of Trustees now desires to formally effect the adoption of said codification by enactment of a local law. Now therefore be resolved that the public hearing to be held by the Board of Trustees with respect to enactment of the following local law, such public hearing to be held on the 22nd day of August, 2022 at 6:45 p.m. in the Village Hall, Village of Bayville, New York. The proposed local law to be considered is as follows. Proposed local law C-2022, a local law to provide for the codification of the local laws, ordinances, and certain resolutions of the Village of Bayville into a municipal code to be designated the Code of the Village of Bayville. Copies of the text of the above named local law shall be filed in the office of the village clerk, and be a further result that the village clerk is hereby directed and authorized to put public notice of said hearing to be given in accordance with the municipal home rule law, the open meetings law, and the village law of the state of New York. So a motion and second are needed, so I may go ahead and publish the required notice. Thank you, Trustee Santoro.
I'll second.
Trustee Valsecchi?
No.
Thank you. Oh, Trustee Bartolome. Trustee Walsh?
Yes.
Trustee Santoro? Yes. Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Natale?
Yes.
Trustee Bartolome?
Yes.
Trustee Valsecchi?
Yes.
Mayor Minicozzi.
Yes.
At this point, Mayor Minicozzi, that's all the business I had on the agenda to put before you and the board. We'd like to open up the meeting for public comment prior to going into executive session.
Yes.
I turn it over to you.
Before we open for public comment, I would like to publicly thank and congratulate Trustee DiNatale, former Mayor DiNatale, for his 4 years of service as mayor to our village. Thank you, sir. And now, would anybody like to come up for comment?
Right here.
Not much time.
Hi, John Taylor, 1 Adams Avenue. First of all, congratulations to everybody who was elected. I'm glad almost it's all on you, but I'm sure you'll do a great job. The reason I'm here tonight is I live on the beach on Adams Avenue on the President Streets, and we had a serious issue the night of July 4th. We know July 4th is a lot of fun and everybody has a great time, and we look the other way on a lot of things, but thanks to social media, we've been having a congruence of kids from all over the county showing up our beaches, and it got out of hand that night. I can't estimate crowds, it's not my specialty, but we had easily 150 to 300 kids all in one group. My wife and I spoke to some of them and said, where do you come from? Great Neck, Hicksville, Roslyn, Glen Cove, all over the place. Why are you here? Well, we saw it on Snapchat or Instagram or whatever. There's a party at the beach in Bayville. They don't bust you. They don't pass you. They all had knapsacks that said the average age was 14 to 16. They had started down by Quincy Avenue. The police, we know we have great police presence. They moved them down the beach. The crowds kept getting bigger. We had a private guard at the end of our street on the 4th of July. He said that the cars were just dropping kids off, parents were dropping them off on Bayville Avenue by the truckload, by the carload, I'm sorry. And they were all walking down to the beach. The guards are only there to stop cars, so we don't get too many cars. Emergency vehicles can't get through. Property was broken, kids were doing naughty things in the dunes. They were walking in the dunes, they were doing other things, they were throwing up on lawns, they left. I would say some of my neighbors spent 4 to 5 hours cleaning up all the garbage. Now, this is not the normal garbage we get after the 4th of July, because most of the residents and their guests clean up. But the kids were leaving beer cans, White Claw, all kinds of stuff all over the beach. At the end of the 4th of July, we usually have 5 or 6 big contractor bags in the street. We had about 40 of them filled with garbage from these kids. You know, I would encourage you to start the process now, figuring out what we do to contain this so it doesn't get out of hand again. It's the second year, it seems to get worse every year. My suggestions, I will look into telling the cops to, you know, maybe take a few of them away that will get the message out. You know, if they're 14 to 16, they shouldn't have White Claw or beer. White Claw is an alcoholic beverage that's very popular right now. You know, if they take a few of them down to the station and call the parents to come pick them up, that message would also get out on social media. The other thing you could look at as a board is maybe we need to institute a curfew at midnight, because these kids started gathering after the fireworks were over. Probably about 11:30, quarter to 12. The police, we finally said it was getting really out of hand. I mean, I can't estimate the crowds, but literally the whole block wide from the high tide mark to the dunes was filled like Times Square with kids from Jefferson to Adams and partway to Washington. It was really unbelievable. So I don't know if we could do a curfew. I spoke to a friend of ours who's a judge in Essex County. He said there's a lot of problems with curfews now because they steal you. But who knows? I mean, you know, we do have a curfew on Halloween. I hate to ruin the party on 4th of July, so I'd say maybe you don't really need to institute it until really late. Yes.
My question is, how do you 14 to 16-year-olds usually don't have an ID on them. How is someone going to show that they don't belong there?
Well, we asked.
I mean, it's an issue in Bayville overall on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
And it's an issue the night before Thanksgiving. I mean, we get it on the street on Bayville Avenue. It's a disaster down by, coming off of Walls Wharf. So now
Right.
you also, by us down there, you get all the out-of-towners parking all over the street, parking, people in my driveway, all over. So it's been a problem in Bayville forever because it's a destination. But when you have police coming down, how do you say, it's one thing if they have alcoholic beverages and they're underage, but if you just have a large crowd of kids someone on your street or on another street on Madison Monroe might be having a party and inviting all these
Yeah.
kids.
The fact is, we asked them. And when the cops came, by the way, they were very good. I mean, five cop cars showed up on the street within 10 minutes of my call.
John, what
And
time
they chased them all away.
what time was the police call?
I made the call about, I said, this is really, it was starting to get worse, 12:15, not better. We thought, okay, fireworks are over, maybe they'll all disperse, but they kept on coming. Our guard, who was working until midnight, I went down to pay him, because I'm the trustee for our street. It's my job to pay him, we all chip in. And he said, oh, they're still coming, watch. So at midnight, when the guard went home, I watched. Cars were still dropping kids off. So the problem kept getting worse. I called the police. I would say, Mayor, it was probably about 12:15, they were there within 10 minutes. When I say they were there in force. Cars came down Jefferson, Washington, and Adams. I had 5 cars, 2 unmarked cars, 5 marked cars, 2 unmarked cars, and maybe a dozen police. And they went down, they talked to the kids, and it took about 5 or 10 minutes for them to break it up. But it was, you know, the garbage was only one problem. A lot of people had damage to their property. You know, there was vomit in the streets, there was garbage everywhere. And if it hadn't been contained by the police, it might have, you know, luckily nothing happened. I understood there was a few fights when they were all down by Quincy. But it could get, when you have that much, a lot of girls and boys and testosterone, who knows what's going to happen. So, you know, we have to nip this in the bud. I think I'm just letting you guys know it happened. And then determine if you think there's a solution the village could impose so it doesn't get out of hand. Because it is really not local. And we asked the kids, a lot of the kids were very nice, you know, they're there to have a good time. We didn't give them a hard time, but we asked where they were from. And not one of them was from there. They were from all over the county, literally Hicksville, Great Neck.
John,
Yes.
Hyper Pilot Park, have you regarded each road?
Most of the, we have a guard during the day every weekend, and on the 4th we have 2 guards. Most of the streets, I'm not sure if every one of the President streets hired a guard for the evening to keep cars, because we're right in the midst of the fireworks. You know, so a lot of them start from Grace Doria. She hires a professional show at Quincy. So we're right in the middle of the fireworks central, so a lot of people come down. We have no problem with anybody walking in from Bayville, but this is a different situation. And every year, Bob, it gets worse, worse and worse.
This is probably something your association could help by putting more security on.
Well, we did have security until tonight, and their mission, we only charge them with, you know, keeping cars out, because we don't want too many cars, and, you know, we had a problem years ago, when you and I were together, where we couldn't get emergency vehicles through the streets because they were too many cars. And as you said, you know, we can't keep out the residents, we can't keep out the kids who live on the street, so we don't, and the guards can't stop when 20 or 30 kids walk down the street in mass, they're not going to be able to do anything.
The other
It
problem,
really requires the police to step in before it happens rather than after it happens.
the other problem is they can be walking from Walls Beach
Yes.
all the way down.
Right.
It's
They were dropping them off everywhere on the President Street area, but they were also coming from Walls and coming down from your area, Bob, you know. They were coming from all over.
Perhaps we could consider, I haven't discussed this with the mayor, I just thought of it, that we notify PTAs and school officials,
Yeah.
and at least along the North Shore area schools, that underage drinking will be strictly enforced in Bayville on,
I think that the PR would be a great idea. I think getting the word out, this all happened because social media, the word went out. It's a party.
parents don't mind dropping their kids off in front of someone else's house. They don't like going to pick them up at the,
Yeah, I don't know the parents knew what was going on, you know, they say, oh, we're just going to somebody's friend's house. But if the word gets out that there's gonna be, somebody who, you know, they're gonna get in trouble, the parents are aware, I mean, the good news is, it's still July, we have a year to figure this out, but it's putting it on your lap. Good luck, thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, I just have a question. Did you find when you called cops
And did they disperse and leave?
Well, they
Bayville,
came,
or
but
did
it
they
took a
push them
while
down
because
the road?
it
Or push them
took
down?
a while because even though there were probably at least a dozen police,
Uh-huh.
the kids were from 2 blocks wide.
Yeah.
I mean, and it was literally looking at like Times Square. I even have video of a ring camera on my roof that faces the beach. I can show you blow-ups of those. It was just a mass of kids.
And did they end up leaving the whole
They did, but
area?
it took a while, yeah. It took,
I mean,
they
eventually,
walked, some of them walked
walk
down
this way and that
this
way.
way and that way, and some just walked down the streets back to Bayville Avenue. There were 4 or 5 kids who were very nice, who were waiting for their parents to pick them up. I told them to sit on our patio and wait there, so they did. There were 4 or 5 of them asleep, Bob, on your sister-in-law's lawn. So,
Yeah, they were served breakfast.
yeah. Thank you very much.
I'd like to add something to that, if I may, please.
Sure.
Hi, I'm Vicki Metz, I live on Madison Avenue. Hi, folks, congratulations to all the newcomers, appreciate your time. Well, John said it best, but I have just a couple of thoughts on that, on July 4th. First of all, I'm wondering, I'm hoping we could maybe work proactively with the 2nd precinct. I think proactive is maybe the key word, because I called 911. I called and they said, oh, Madison and Boulevard? And I said, yes. I said, maybe 100 kids. The 911 operator said, oh, we heard 200 kids. So they do look like they're underage. Goodness knows what's in the knapsack. I think it's not in our best interest to confront people in this day and age, even if it's 2 young girls, 14 years old. I just don't want to get punched in the nose or have my husband punched in the nose. So the police did respond, in fairness. But by then, way too late, way out of control. And what they did was, they didn't really disperse the crowd, they kind of just moved them along. So that's not helpful either. I heard there were fights. I heard somebody had bottles thrown at them. I heard that one of the residents took a hose to try to get rid of the kids. To me, this is an accident waiting to happen. So my suggestion, twofold. One, if we could work proactively with the 2nd precinct. I'm very pro-police. These guys make a lot of money and they need to do the right thing here. Maybe the money shouldn't come into it, but their salaries are really great. And we need help, and we need it once a year. We should ask for it. Also, I think the curfew should be way before midnight.
I think the curfew should be after fireworks.
There you go. Maybe you're thinking
Sorry, because
9 or
I
10
personally think the curfew is probably the best
solution.
solution.
Yeah. Well, then we'd still have to work probably with the 2nd precinct, because you can make as many rules and regulations and laws as you want. If there's no enforcement on the other end, it's probably useless.
Well, you give the board something to think about.
Okay, thank you.
I'm totally sympathetic to what you do, because I live right on the beach myself. It's obvious it's gotten out of control.
Yeah.
And it's not just July 4th, because parents are dropping kids off at Center Island Beach and West Harbour Beach. They're just randomly dropping them off.
I heard that.
Yeah, and social media is one huge invitation for the whole world.
Right. Party in Bayville.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
If I could add one thing, just to close it, I'm sorry. Take 1 second. One of the other questions we asked, the one kid who we talked to, again, most of them were all very nice. The drunk ones we didn't talk to. But we said, where do you live? Well, he lived on the beach, Laddingtown. Why aren't you at your beach? He said, because they chase us away. So,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Peter.
Hi, Barbara Fona, 246 Bayville Avenue. Congratulations, everybody. Nice to see you all. I do have to add a little bit of something to what John was saying. 12:15 was not the end of it, all right? Because on the corner of Quincy, the police were there till like 1:30 in the morning, getting these kids off the beach. It wasn't 12:15. And I'll be honest with you, I won't even go down there anymore. I'll just sit on my porch and watch the fireworks on there because it just gets wild with all those kids down there. It's just too wild. It's, progressively over the years, worse and worse and worse. Just adding that. My daughter, who's a beach attendant, had asked me to mention something when I came here tonight. Apparently, what she's telling me that the beach attendants are not allowed to issue the bay stickers anymore.
We haven't had them doing it this season. We haven't.
Okay, because what's happening, people are showing their IDs or their driver's license, and they're not allowed to let them park without the bay sticker. And the beach attendants are getting a lot of grief. They're getting yelled at and so on by people that aren't being able to be allowed on the beach.
But I believe even if they were giving out stickers, they still have to have other proof with them.
Oh, no,
But I see a lot of them across from the sound side, so I
some
always check
people,
in with
what
them.
I'm saying is that people who don't have their bay sticker, like say they got a new car,
Right.
and they didn't get the bay sticker yet, and they showed their ID, driver's license, they're not allowed to let them on the beach.
Because the problem is also is the attendant cannot sit there and make sure that they don't get a ticket on their car. So if they let them in and park, Mr.
Right.
Rogers is gonna do his job and come in, and anyone without a bay sticker is going to get a ticket. The attendant, it's not fair to the attendant to make sure they keep their eye on
Which
what car.
makes a whole lot of sense, but
But
would
just
they,
because they have a Bayville license, doesn't mean that they have the other proof that they need to get their sticker.
would they ever be able to issue the stickers again, this way they don't get yelled at?
This will.
Some people are getting very nasty.
No, I see it, but
It's not a procedure, and they need to come to,
Yeah.
Well, that's what my daughter tells them, well, you can come to the village and get a sticker there. My daughter tells them that, and they say, well, I work and I can't get there before the village closes or before it opens,
I
so.
think out of all the years, we've only issued them at the beach 1 or 2 years, and everyone has always had stickers, right?
I'm just relaying.
I know, I check in with them all the time when I'm there, and I see what goes on. I see
Yeah,
how
she just
they-
asked me to mention it, so.
Maybe we can
Her and
put a
all
sign
my
up.
little friends, they asked me to
Yeah,
mention
maybe
it.
we can put a sign from the village that says stickers to be issued at Village Hall and.
Something, yeah, because some people are
But
getting.
back to 4th of July, I do think though, the other real big issue are the people setting off fireworks. About 11 years ago, when my daughter was just 1 year old, I was on my beach at Soundside, and the people setting off fireworks, they're drunk and they don't know what they're not experienced, and my daughter and I almost got hit. We were far back, I saw it coming at us, and I flipped around, but I won't go. I went away this year because I had no interest in being on the beach in Bayville this year, because it's become increasingly dangerous with anybody lighting off fireworks. It was safer when we had bonfires.
It really was, because you could see better. Honestly, you were able, gave some lights, you could, I was not able to make it to the court last week, because it was my daughter's birthday. And I just want to know what was the outcome with 18 deans and the fencing and?
There hasn't been any change to my knowledge, although we believe that once we go through this new code that we're going to have, we'll be able to better enforce the state building code against that property. Doug, the building inspector, definitely made contact with the people in the state concerning the difficulty with this absentee landlord that isn't fixing it.
She's not absentee.
She is not?
No.
Oh, I thought she was.
No, she lives there all week. I don't know who's telling you she's absentee.
I thought she
She's
was,
a-
because she
no.
has an address that's at the state. That I remember when we tried to serve her.
Let me tell you something,
Yeah.
she's slick, okay? She has a Florida address, she has a Queens address, probably a Brooklyn address. But during the week, she lives there.
Okay.
The only time she's not there is when she has her Airbnb going on. Other than that, she's there.
Okay.
Okay. With that being said, this is going on now for 5 years. It's and I don't understand why everybody else in Bayville has to have a fence around their pool, but her. What is so special about this woman that she can get away with her
Are you
fence?
telling me that if Doug goes there and sees the violation, he can serve her with a summons right then and there? Because if he can.
Do you know how many times Doug has been there?
Well, I don't know whether he's ever.
I have been there on the street. I live right on the corner.
Okay, well,
Okay,
I don't.
I live right on the corner. Doug has been there numerous times. All right, and there was one time where she had this, I don't want to get into it because it was really disgusting, but he just walked away. Didn't issue her a violation. I'm sorry, I'm throwing him under the bus, you might say, but it's enough for me.
Well,
Okay.
you've given us information.
One other thing I do want to add, there are, I have pictures of it, beer cans down there, so kids are partying down there, 10 feet from her pool. So what drunk kid doesn't want to say, hey, let's go for a swim?
Well,
You know?
if kids are drinking down there, the law only requires a 4-foot high fence. And let's face it, the fencing law is designed to keep away toddlers and little kids from wandering into the pool. That's the reason you have the regulation. But as you now tell me that this person is around and is it's possible to serve her with an appearance ticket, we can bring her into the village court for a violation of the village's code, which requires fencing around pools.
Are you saying she's there during the week?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, let me finish, please.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, I'm a little slow. But she's renting it to people, Airbnb on the weekends?
Not every weekend. You know, maybe once, I don't know, Kathy, once a month maybe?
And any holiday weekend.
You can tell when her car is not there and somebody else is there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So all week, she is there.
All right, well,
So another one.
I'm glad you told us that, because we'll do what we can to at least serve her papers to get her in before the court.
Right.
She's been before the court, I think, in the past, but I don't, and I know she's been fined for up to $70,000. So the other question is what we can possibly do is to hire a special collection attorney to go after that and put the squeeze on her to make sure that she pays for any of those violations that have been accumulating over the years.
Well, the violations are one thing, but the fencing around the pool.
Yeah, but I understand that.
You know, something that's a lot more serious.
Yeah, why she wouldn't put a fence around the
Well,
pool
because
just
she
for her
doesn't
own
wanna
liability is beyond me.
She doesn't want to ruin the view for her Airbnb people. That's
Some
basically.
of the fence would be on state land against those.
Oh, her fence is on state land, that glass fence that she has, and so it's part of the pool, but that's another story.
That's something that has to be looked at a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
closer. I don't necessarily.
All right, so we're still
Yeah.
in limbo about basically. We don't-
Okay, well-
yeah. Okay,
We can check into it a little further.
okay,
No
thank
problem.
you.
Thanks.
Pat Fletcher, Cemetery Drive. I'd like to speak on, as part of the library board. Congratulations to the newly elected. We all appreciated Steve coming to the meeting on July 20th and really helping move the renovation forward.
My pleasure.
And we are also very happy that Ann is our liaison. Everybody on the board is very pleased with that. I have a couple of, I have local news. One that I think the village already knows about it, the amnesty. No more fines at the Bayville Library for your books and DVDs. Many other libraries in the Nassau County and Suffolk County have this. We finally got the board to all agree on this. So I think you're going to post this also, Steve. I think Ashley said that would be great. So I just wanted to make that announcement. And the second is on behalf of Cindy Ergen. I don't know how many of you know her, but she's very helpful to the less fortunate in our community. So as you that have school children know that the schools require so many things for the kids to have. Certain pencils and backpacks and a whole list of things. So Cindy wants, she is doing this program along with Locust Valley, give back packs. So if you go to the library, you pick out an apple and that gives you a specific child that needs these things. And the program is running much slower this year, I think because everybody is a little hard for money. But I'm thinking if you could just share with your friends and neighbors, or maybe even groups of people that could, you know, help to put together a backpack.
Roughly how many apples do you have?
There's 30 left. So just spread the word, I would appreciate that.
Do you have to shop for it if they donate?
You know, it says to shop for it, but I think if we can't do
this
that,
point, why don't
the
we just-
donation, yeah, and then let Cindy,
Yeah, go and
do a bunch of them.
that'd be great.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, congratulations everyone. My name is Renee Kraft Woodler. I live at 3 Madison Avenue. I was wondering about how Airbnbs work, because we apparently have an Airbnb on the boulevard also. And people park on Madison Avenue. And I had heard that the Airbnb is only allowed to have someone there for like 2 days at a time. But the people that were at this Airbnb were there for like 2 weeks. And they were like, you know, parking in front of my house the whole time. And I was just wondering.
It's usually up to the town or the village.
We haven't.
We're allowed.
We're, I think you're less than 14 days according
Yeah.
to our code. You have to.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, no less, because they want to avoid, and I think it stems from Dean's Lane, we wanted to avoid people
Coming and
renting
going all
for
the time.
weekends and just having like a party house for the
Right.
weekend. So our code, I think
Code
it's
says it has to be for.
minimum of 14 days, I believe.
Oh, okay.
What's the address of the house?
22.
22
Boulevard.
Boulevard.
If you're parking in
Is this
front
the
of your
parking
house.
problem?
Yeah, they're parking on Madison Avenue.
Yeah.
But, you know, coming and going, I don't know these people, so now I gotta, you know, we live in Bayville, we never lock our houses, right? Well, now, like, feeling I have to.
2 weeks continuous rental, we don't want to see people there for weekends, long weekends.
Right, I get that, I understand, but that's what I had heard, so I'm like, okay, so the 2 weeks is normal. Thank you very much.
Certainly.
Thank you.
New leaders of Bayville Village. Vince Cicero, 14 Merritt Lane, Bayville. You know, I wanted to ask you a couple of things since we have new administration. It's nice to see the people here. I come here because I'm interested in what's going on. And I was just wondering, do you think that the move to 6:30 reduced the amount of people who come here? I know as volunteers that 6:30 is not better for you. 7:30 doesn't work that well.
What would you say?
Do we think?
Has it reduced the amount of attendance to these meetings? The 6:30?
Change down from 6:30 to.
I personally feel 6:30 is too early. 6:30 is too early for me. It's a struggle for me to get here at 6:30. I don't know about everybody else.
Yeah, I know, a
I
lot
don't
of
know
people
what the
can't
attendance was like before.
seem to
that.
get here, but that's okay. I value the input from the village attendees here because I find out something about our village. No complaints. The other thing was the acoustics in this room are terrible, I have to say. Either people use the mic or they don't use the mic. Sometimes Peter's got a great voice, I can hear him. When you talk to the wall, it becomes a little more difficult because the voice doesn't carry. I just wonder if there's maybe a way you could address that, since people come here to hear, see, and acknowledge. I wonder if you might take that in consideration.
Yes, we're working on that. We had someone here a week or so ago, who's
Great,
giving us an
because I'm sure, I think you have court here too as well, right? Yeah. The other thing was, recently, I spoke to you, Bob, about the people harvesting the clams from the end of Merritt Lane. And you mentioned to me that there's a bay constable.
When I got back to you. in an
Yes, you
email,
did.
After checking with commercial clamor, he told me there's no limit on clams out of Long Island Sound. No, there is a limit on clams taken out of Oyster Bay. It's a different jurisdiction and different regulations. So this clamor is a well-known clamor. He's fished commercially his whole life. And he should know the game, I would think. And he's the one that said there is no limit on the amount of clams you can take out of Long Island Sound.
I mean, I don't, profess that because we live on the water, that we own it when I was there, but, we harvest for ourselves, big deal. But when they go in there, these guys came in with a truck. And you had mentioned the Bay Constable because sometimes they come by truck, so they don't have to deal with the Bay Constable. I didn't even know if it comes under Oyster Bay, is
I
that?
don't think
Sure he
that,
doesn't.
I don't
No?
think the Bay Constable has jurisdiction in the Sound.
No.
No, that's right, it's not part of the town of Oyster Bay limit.
Right, that's what I thought. They would
It's
need-
state land, beyond your mean high water mark, the Long Island Sound,
Yeah.
it's state land.
State land.
Now, maybe the state conservation, the game wardens and those kind of people might have some jurisdiction, but I'm not aware of it. And that might be a place to check, but the state.
I don't deny these people.
Was it truck parked legally?
That's not the point. The point is that if they overharvest, which they rape the place, I'm gonna tell you, they clean it out pretty damn good. I don't care, but when I mentioned to Bob was that, is there maybe an area we could put some kind of fee on to benefit the village in some way, that if there's no regulation, somehow you could enact a statute or what have you, that says if you want to harvest, you gotta pay us. I don't know if that's possible.
I don't think we can limit access by licensing to this, access to the sound and clams and sound. I don't think we can do that.
I don't know. I
Was
was
the truck parked legally, Mr. Cicero?
Yeah. I don't know. What I like about these meetings, by the way, is an exchange of information. Nobody's accusing anybody of doing and not doing something. They're really here to share something with you. And I like that, because that's the function of this administration. There need not to be any banty back and forth, shoot the messenger. And I know that rarely it happens, but sometimes in execution of a complaint, people get a little hot in the collar, what have you. My last little thing is, Robin, I appreciate that they put the little hill with the majestic wall that they put up on Merit Lane. By the way, the paving looks super. You had put in, I think, ivy. Well, the weed whacker ate them. Yeah, he got up there and ate every damn shrub.
Where did he come from, the weaver?
Huh?
Was he a village?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, he did, go clean it out. The weed whacker goes, cleans it up.
It wasn't today, was it?
It was last week, I think.
Last week.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel that you guys put the money up and put the plants in there. Weed whackers.
They'll come back, but why should you have to wait?
Yeah, whatever. Well, thank you very much, and I hope that going forward, we're gonna have really great attendance here, because that's my passion, to listen to the village people and to contact you people and communicate. Thank you very much.
I'll just answer quickly a comment that Mr. Cicero asked. I'm on the Board of Trustees today, so I'm pretty aware of the laws. There is no law limiting harvesting of clams from Long Island Sound. Absolutely none. You can come in and take as many as you can get.
Thank you. Thank you. Gene, 1 second, please tell us.
Every time I hear a dog, I go, oh, building inspector. Okay, I want to speak, a couple of my colleagues were here. I thought the meeting was at 7. It turns out it's at 6:30. Used to be at 7:30, so I'm trying to get up to the groove here. I want to speak about the Halloween juvenile curfew and how we can put it into place for a 4th of July juvenile curfew. And in 1995, I looked up the law in there, and it has all the different sections in it. And I was there. I voted on it. We did it. We put it in place. We used to have a tremendous problem in Cat Hollow, in where you live up there. What is that?
I live in Cat Hollow. You're talking about
Oak Point, the President Streets. We had problems on it various years all over the village. So the curfew provided relief for the broad section of the village. So it had all the definitions, exceptions. We made it pretty much bulletproof at the time. We actually copied the law from some other village that had put it in place, and it already had been challenged, and it stood the test of time. Then we worked with the police department with a special Halloween curfew detail, because they were suffering as well. I was up in the church parking lot one year, and the kids were coming out of the woods throwing rocks at the back windows of the police cars, and they were actually having to take these kids and wrestle them to the ground. So we saw something had to be done. So we put this Halloween juvenile curfew law in place in 1995, after a couple of years of the usual hand wringing. Oh, you can't do that. It's unconstitutional. It's every excuse in the book. What are we going to do? We can't do nothing. But we did this, and guess what? The second year, we had trouble getting the manpower, because the first year they put a van up here to take people away. And the best thing they did, they put a road check at the bridge and at the Tides Motel. And when the parents came home, they stopped the cars and they said, do you know there's a curfew tonight? Do you know your kid has to be home by whatever the law said? And the parents probably weren't paying enough attention, but now they got it. We had no problem. We pushed the problem to other places, you know, but now it's not our problem. But after like the second and third year, we broke the cycle of this is the place to go. So now today, in this day and age, we're dealing with social media. All they have to do is broadcast out where to go. The parents were dropping the kids off at our streets, because we had guards on a couple of the blocks, and they saw this. And like 400 kids show up. Now, are they terrible? They're not. They're kids. They're there, but they shouldn't be there with backpacks full of beer when they're 13 years old and really misbehaving, and the parents should know better. So my colleagues and I would like to basically mirror this law. I mean, it gives you the section 2, gives you the definitions, the exceptions, the special exceptions. If you're with your parent, of course you can be out there, and sort of mirror this law and take it to juvenile curfew. And the time, I mean, it's 4th of July, I guess you could make it midnight. You have to be off the street. I don't know if that's a time you want. 11's probably too early or something like that. But if we could get this in place for next year, if it pleases the board, you want to discuss it amongst yourselves. What is that? You already drew one up?
We already drew it
Are you
up.
typing underneath the while I was speaking?
One step ahead.
We're a step ahead.
You mirror something that worked already, and then you don't have trouble with it. And it will work, because then you give the police. Another time we had the business district. We had a lot of kids hanging out in the business district. And we had the CO from the 2nd precinct at that time come up here, right here, and he said you have to mark the business district. And if you go to the corner, the northwest corner of Bayville Avenue, like catty corner across from the firehouse, you'll see a little faded sign that says business district. It's about this big. We had to have those in order to enforce the law, because the police can't go there and there's a bunch of kids, but we put a thing in, you couldn't hang out in the business district and create havoc, because that's what was happening. So this is just another step. You know, we for years in the President Streets area, we have had like a policy, let's just say it is a policy, of not trying to stop pedestrians from coming in. We know we get people from everywhere. We put guards to stop the cars, because if there's a house on fire, we want to be able for you guys to get in there and put out the fire. But we can't stop pedestrians, it would be impossible. So we didn't try to. And most of the people, especially this year, when those fireworks went off, when they stopped, the people left. But the kids don't leave. And and it's not fair to the cops to go down there and have to try to corral 400 kids and move them this way and move them that way. So I think this is something that we want to pursue. You seem to have pursued it to some extent, and get it done. And we'll help you in any way that we can. I think it's a good idea. So, all right. And congratulations and good luck to you all.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Nigro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Watson.
Thank you.
There'll be something burning on your front step. Stomp it out. Have all of it.
Gene Palleggi, 8 Summit View Drive. Congratulations to everybody that won. I thought the green tie goes to the mayor.
No, we're going to be discussing turning the fleet to green fleet.
All right, I just wanted to clear that up. I'm concerned about trees in Bayville. I hate trees being cut down. It drives me, every time I hear a saw, especially in the night, I'll call the police and say, what the hell is going on? So that's a concern for me. I know there's a law required to get a permit to cut a tree down, which I did myself. But how do you enforce it if nobody's around? The guy comes in with a chainsaw and the tree is down, you know. I would like to make sure that the fines involved in the replacement of trees that are legally cut be strictly enforced. That's a pet peeve of mine since I moved to Bayville. I moved out of the city, not my choice, but I just love trees. So I'd like to emphasize that. Now I know there's goings on with Steve's Pier, and I don't want to get ahead of anybody here, but I was going to come up before any discussion of Steve's Pier settlement, and I was concerned with the soil that was brought in over the years. I know from past experience, I was told or understood that it's illegal to bring soil into Bayville without a permit or some sort. It's vague in my head. I didn't know if that's true, but that's what I heard. And if that's the case, Steve's Pier, a lot of soil was brought in. So when I drive down here at Bayville Park Boulevard, I'm looking at this ugly mound of dirt. It's always annoyed me. I figured one day I'll come up and discuss it with the board to see if anything is illegal about that soil being brought in. And if it was, that maybe somebody should have to get it out at their expense, not Bayville's expense. And I know that there's some goings on with maybe developing the property. So this is aside from that. I don't want to make any stumbling blocks for any things that are going on. But those are the two issues I wanted to bring up with the board. Anything else? No, that's about it.
How do you know the dirt was brought in from somewhere else?
I saw it.
But how do you know where it came from, though?
I don't know where it came from. It didn't come from Bayville. They were trucking it in.
This was when?
20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. That mound of dirt you can see is not natural.
No, but the same developer also built 3 homes on an adjacent lot, so I'm sure he had dirt from there that ended up onto that lot.
There are elevation requirements now that didn't exist then.
And you normally we get a permit to either move soil or bring soil in, correct, Peter? And they went so far as to put in a foundation, so they must have dug out soil in the foundation, which they would have had a building permit to do.
Well, if anybody remembers where Steve's Pier was before they tore it down, it was not as high as, if anything goes up there now on what is there, it would be 20 feet higher than the old Steve's Pier would have been. I would assume 15 to 20 feet easily. So if there's going to be a development of that property, I would question whether you can build on this raised property that.
I think that was part of the application back years ago. From what I remember, part of it was building it up and bringing in this.
It was approved.
Yeah, they would have had approval to bring in that soil.
Yeah, I don't know if they did. I don't know if they did. And
yeah, I mean that was over 5 years ago.
Oh, yeah, yes, it's been quite a while. I'm bringing this up now, it's a kind of an awkward time, I realize, because there's some negotiations going on, but I should have been up here last year complaining about the amount of soil that was brought in, and it doesn't lend itself to looking like a nice piece of, now I don't live on the block looking at this, but I just drive down, and I think it's unsightly, and I'm concerned about it, but again, I'm not here to disrupt anything that might be going on. But I would hate to see a building go on top of a falsely raised level, because that's way above what you would consider storm area. So I don't think it's done for purposes of storm control. That's all. Anything anybody want to ask me? That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anybody else like to be heard tonight?
If not, then I would like a motion for a resolution to enter into an executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters and legal matters. And let the record show it's 7:25 p.m.
Make a motion?
Thank you. Trustee, I'm sorry, who moved that? Dustin. Thank you. And trustee Bartolomeo, thank you. Trustee Walsh?
Yeah.
Trustee Santoro? Yeah. Trustee Nigro?
Yes.
Trustee Vitale?
Yes.
Trustee Bartolomeo?
Yes.
Trustee Belzetti?
Yes.
And Mayor Nichols?
Yes. Years with the ranking. Oh my God.
So having closed the executive session at 8:15 PM, I now ask for a motion to close the regular meeting at 8:16 PM.
I'll make a motion to close the regular meeting.
Thank you, trustee Centura.
Second that motion.
Thank you, trustee Vitale. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Let the record show the regular meeting is closed.
Thank you.